That was one of the most disgusting testimonies I have ever heard. To have Hank come in here and lecture angel families about how they shouldn't be here, how we shouldn't be holding this hearing. What the hell is wrong with you guys? The reason they're here is because of open borders that you guys perpetrated for 4 years. And to come in here and to turn this into a MAGA Republican idiot.
Welcome back to Freedom Forge. If you believe in truth, accountability, and standing up for what's right, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe right now, because what we're about to break down is something every American needs to see. Today, we are reacting to a powerful and emotional Senate hearing focused on what lawmakers are calling the human toll of sanctuary policies. This hearing brought in victims' families, people who have lost loved ones, to testify about how policies around immigration enforcement have impacted their lives. But what started as a hearing about real human tragedy quickly turned into a political battlefield, and that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. I recognize the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Hank Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm so sorry for what has happened to your children. I cannot imagine what you've gone through, and no parent should have to go through what you have gone through. All victims of violent crime deserve justice, but this hearing is not about justice. It's entitled "The Human Toll of Sanctuary Policies: Stories from Victims and Families." We could very well have done a hearing on the human toll of the Trump MAGA tax cuts on 17 million Americans who got their health care access and food security ripped out from under them so that the wealthiest billionaires in this country could get another tax cut. Or we could have entitled this hearing or had a hearing on the human toll of Trump's stupid war with Iran and how it's making life increasingly unaffordable for people here in America, except for the wealthiest Americans. They can pay whatever the price is. We could have had a hearing on the human toll of Trump's desperate cover-up of the Epstein files, the toll that has played on the victims of that international child sex abuse ring. But no, we are here today, and not to cast any aspersions on any of you for testifying, but this is a Steve Miller-approved hearing whose sole aim is to stir up passion and bias and prejudice against immigrants who are people of color. Now, I mean, we have had mass murder after mass murder in this country perpetrated by all kinds of people. But I just want to talk about those that have been perpetrated by white males. Robert Card opened fire at a bowling alley in Lewistown, Maine, killing 18 people, wounding 13. Peyton Gendron, white supremacist, killed 10 people in a racist attack at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. Randy Stair, a 32-year-old suspected of killing a family of 4 in Romeoville, Illinois. Richard Dale Crum, a 52-year-old man in Arcabutler, Mississippi, who shot and killed 6 people, including his ex-wife and stepfather. 38-year-old Courtney Gordon, who stabbed 4 relatives, including 2 children, to death in New York City. And I could go on in terms of tragedies and victims of tragedy who could be brought here to talk about this MAGA Republican failure to do anything about gun control. You know, I mean, so this is, even the fact that Mr. Romanucci, you are seated number 3 instead of number 4. I mean, normally the 3 Republican witnesses would be seated together, not sandwiching the Democratic witness in between you, but you know, you got sandwiched today for the dramatic effect of it. It's all politics, and it's unfortunate what my friends here on the other side of the aisle are perpetrating. Mr. Mr. Romanucci, the killing of Miss Good was not in a, was by rogue ICE officers, federal agents, who can't even be sued for, you know, the damage that they have done to your client's loved ones. That's wrong. That's why I've introduced the Bivens Act, which would allow people to bring federal officials into court and sue them against these egregious actions. There are many. Certainly, they equate. I'm not minimizing the tragedy that is before us today with you three women, but the other tragedies at the hands of non-immigrants, just as important. My Bivens Act would ensure that all victims and their loved ones can get justice, even if the perpetrator is a government official. And that's why I've also introduced the Constitutional Accountability Act, which would establish that federal, state, and local governments have the same respondeat superior liability that private employers have for their employees. So there's much we can do to bring justice to those who have been aggrieved by tragedy. Congress, this MAGA Republican Congress, is incapable and unwilling to do anything in that regard, and that's unfortunate. I'm going to be the one who yields back after going only 11 minutes over. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Yes, that was 11 seconds over. Not 11 minutes, I would have been tapping the gavel. With that, Mr. Schmidt,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have some unanimous consent requests.
without objection.
I would ask unanimous consent to include in the record an article titled ICE asks Governor Pritzker and Chicago sanctuary politicians to not release criminal illegal alien accused of killing 18-year-old Loyola college student.
Without objection.
Also, an article titled Mayor Fry's sanctuary policies release criminal illegal aliens from jails back into Minneapolis streets to terrorize more innocent Americans.
Without objection.
And so too unanimous consent to include in the record an article titled Illinois father says Pritzker shows, quote, indifference, unquote, to his daughter being killed by a illegal immigrant.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
And Mr. Chair, I have a UC.
Without objection.
This is from the Texas Tribune. It is from March 29th, actually my birthday, 2010. Houston, no sanctuary. Anise Parker, who was the mayor at the time.
Ooh, can I respond to that?
Thank you. You know
Sorry,
what?
it was just an
Mr. Gill is
unspoken
going to
policy.
speak next, and he is going to yield some of his time to you.
Thank
Is that
you.
okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
With that, I recognize Mr. Gill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing, and thank you to the witnesses for coming here and telling us your stories and your family's stories. Before we get into that, I think it's worth saying that was one of the most disgusting testimonies I have ever heard. To have Hank come in here and lecture angel families about how they shouldn't be here, how we shouldn't be holding this hearing. What the hell is wrong with you guys? The reason they're here is because of open borders that you guys perpetrated for 4 years. And to come in here and to turn this into a MAGA Republican idiotic low IQ lecture is sickening. To whine about which seats they're in, it's disgusting. That said, I'd like to give you guys a chance to respond to some of the things that you've heard, and I'll start with you, Ms. Wilkerson.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that it was a spoken policy of Houston to be a sanctuary. It wasn't written at that point, and so the suburbs around Houston followed that same policy. And these Parker's kind of laughable to me. This hearing could also be about why we're not, or people aren't voting. You know, there's a slush fund for people up here in these places that have committed crimes, or people have said, oh, you've raped and stuff. But, you know, this hearing could have been about that too, but it's not. It's about our kids that we lost, and about the very fact that Sanctuary City Policies is creating a haven for people that came to this country illegally. Thank you.
You can put me in whatever order, in whatever seat. My tragedy is never going to be okay. I will be last, I will be first, I will be 42nd seat, if that's what you want. But we're so used to hearing everyone tell us, but we're sorry. Please, here are condolences, but this hearing should be about this. This hearing should be about me, but it's not. Today's our day. Hear us. Leave your butts in your seat. I don't want to hear your butts. Our tragedies are disgusting. I still wait for my children to come home. It's not real to me. My 11-year-old, my 16-year-old, they're waiting for their car to come home with Brady and Hallie in it because guess what? It's evidence. We can't have that back yet. My garage stall is empty. So the girls say, Mom, we still think they're gonna come home and tell us all about the concert and celebrating their anniversary. Because the car's not here. They'll come home, won't they? We can't pick a headstone because that makes it too real. But you can sit here and tell us about what kind of hearing this should be. Renee Good is not the same as Angel family. She made a choice. She left her home that day, made the choice. Brady and Hallie didn't get a choice. Carissa didn't get a choice. Joshua didn't get a choice. They are living American laws, the American dream. They're trying to make this place better, and they were stolen by somebody who doesn't care. But give me all your butts. I'm used to it.
I don't know if anybody has noticed, but I am not white. I wake up brown every day. I'm not sure what race has to do with any of this. There's 4 kids that we talked about today, and y'all can't seem to stay on topic for what? An hour of your time? You got to bring up what about? No, we're talking about these 4 kids. We're talking about Angel families. Stay on topic. I don't want to talk about Epstein right now. That's another hearing. I don't want to talk about ICE detainees. That's another hearing. Right now, today, we're talking about sanctuary policies and how they have wrecked our families. Y'all come and y'all feed Carissa. You get her up from her bed using a crane. And then you tell me and lecture me what this hearing should be about.
Ms. Wilkerson, we have a little bit more time. Would you like to have the floor to respond to anything else you've heard today?
I just have to agree with them both. You know, this hearing could be about anything, and I appreciate that they want to get some things on record, but it's not what it's about today. It's about American citizens who parents try to do the right thing. You know, I stayed at home mom because I wanted to give Josh my values, my kids my values, and teach them right from wrong, take them to church. And you get almost through to that point, and then somebody that shouldn't even have been here just steals their life right out from under you. You'll never understand the pain. I pray that you don't understand the pain. And it's about giving a group of people sanctuary from the law. Nobody gets sanctuary from the law. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's hard to believe we're sitting here begging you to obey the laws that y'all made. I mean, there are laws in the books. If we just start with that, we'd be better off if we just start enforcing those. But nobody gets sanctuary from the law. You know how to stay, you know how to not get killed by the police. Don't get involved in something they're doing. Makes it's pretty much common sense. But I want it to remain about the kids, American citizens that have been lost. And I think this gentleman over here, Mr. Johnson, said that you could fill this room. You could fill stadiums. They don't keep statistics. They don't want statistics. They don't want you to know how many people have been killed.
Ms. Wilkerson, I'm sorry. I get to be the bad guy today. I don't mean to be. I really could listen to all of you all day. I'm trying as chairman to get it under control, and we've let everybody on both sides go over
no problem. I
quite
could
a
talk
bit.
for
I know. And I thank you for that.
Right from the start, you see a complete shift in tone. Instead of focusing on the victims and their families, one lawmaker comes in and tries to redirect the entire hearing into a broader political argument, bringing up tax cuts, foreign policy, and even unrelated national issues. Now, let me be very clear. This is where a lot of Americans get frustrated with Washington. You have grieving families sitting right there in the room, sharing the most painful experiences imaginable, losing their children, their loved ones. And instead of staying focused on that, the conversation gets hijacked into partisan talking points. That's not leadership. That's political deflection. And what happens next is something you don't see covered honestly enough. Another lawmaker fires back, calling out what he describes as one of the most disrespectful moments in a hearing like this. He points out that these families are there for a reason, to tell their stories, and turning it into a political lecture completely misses the point. And then the families themselves speak. This is where everything changes. You hear directly from people who have lost their children. You hear the pain, the confusion, the anger. One mother talks about how her kids still think their siblings are coming home. Another talks about how they can't even bring themselves to pick a headstone because it makes the loss too real. Think about that for a second. This isn't politics to them. This isn't left versus right. This is their life, permanently changed. And yet, they're sitting there being told what the hearing should be about. That's the moment where, in my opinion, the entire system gets exposed. Because this is what happens when ideology starts to override reality. When politicians become more focused on scoring points than actually listening to the people they represent. Now, as someone who believes in law, order, and personal responsibility, here's where I stand. A nation without borders is not a nation. Laws that are not enforced are not laws. And when policies are put in place that create confusion, loopholes, or selective enforcement, it's everyday citizens who pay the price, not politicians. What these families are asking for is not radical. They're asking for accountability. They're asking for the laws already on the books to actually be enforced. They're asking for a system where their children's lives are not treated as collateral damage in a political experiment. And instead of getting clear answers, they're getting debates, distractions, and deflections. Now, let's also talk about something else that came up in this hearing, the attempt to shift blame by bringing up other tragedies. You heard references to crimes committed by different groups, different individuals, different circumstances. And look, every innocent life lost is a tragedy. Every victim deserves justice. That should never be minimized. But using one tragedy to dismiss another is not justice. It's avoidance. The families made that very clear. They said stay on topic. Focus on what happened to their children. Stop turning their pain into a political talking point. And that right there is the most powerful part of this entire hearing. Because it reminds us of something simple but important. Government exists to serve the people, not to lecture them, not to ignore them, and certainly not to use their suffering as a platform for political arguments. If the system cannot even pause long enough to listen to grieving parents without turning it into a debate, then something is fundamentally broken. And that's why moments like this matter. Because they show you, in real time, how decisions made in Washington impact real lives. They show you the disconnect between policy and reality. And they force us to ask the hard question, who is this system really working for? At the end of the day, this isn't just about one hearing. It's about the direction of the country. It's about whether laws matter. It's about whether citizens come first. And it's about whether accountability still exists in our institutions. If you made it this far, make sure you like this video, subscribe to Freedom Forge, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. We're going to keep breaking down these moments, giving you real analysis, and cutting through the noise. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you believe these hearings are actually helping solve problems, or are they just becoming another stage for political theater? I'll see you in the next one.